Is it just me, or have you ever noticed how a year feels shorter every year? Like literally. It can't be just me, right? When you're 10 years old, every year feels like a very long time. When you're 20, you feel like it's starting to move a little faster. And one day you're already in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you just feel like it keeps getting faster and faster. Then one day, without any warning, you just realize that you already have less time ahead of you than behind you. Now wait, before this gets any more depressing, hear me out. Because if you finally realized how short life is, then that actually isn't bad news. Instead, it's actually the most freeing realization you'll ever have. Because once you finally understand that you only have limited time, you would finally stop wasting it on things that don't really matter. Imagine if one day you're given a bank account, where every morning you would have $86,400 in it, like randomly, every morning. It just refills itself. The catch though is, every night, whatever you didn't spend the money in will disappear forever. You can't save it, you can't carry it over, and there would never be any refunds. If that was your situation, you'd probably think real deep on where and how you would spend those $86,400 too wisely, to maximize the money you have today and plan out what you do with it for the following day or days. But here's the thing, you actually already have that number with you. You might be thinking, but I don't have that much money in my bank account. But that's the catch. I'm not actually talking about money. I'm talking about time. You can actually search this up or calculate it yourself, but would have 86,400 seconds in a day. Which means that if you replace that $86,400 that I've just said into any number you can think of, you would still somehow plan out that money more than how you'd plan your time in. And just to think about that, most people would be willing to pay for a higher price if that means the convenience and efficiency of not needing to travel for a longer period of time. But most people would be willing to spend the rest or most of their time scrolling videos that they won't even remember tomorrow, nor even have any impact in their lives. Now, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying, just think about it. When you have time, when you literally do have time, don't be giving me a situation where you'd be scrolling, playing, and doing nothing and be telling me that that's what you'd call not having time. Just think about it for a sec. If you do have those times that you're just relaxing or doing things for fun, think as well if there are other things of essence that you could be doing that will literally impact your life in a way that you aren't actually just wasting your time. You might not be feeling it today. In fact, there's even a chance that you'd never actually even think about this someday. But don't come back crying when one day you have a moment where you'd say, I hope I did this sooner, or I hope I spent my time differently before. There was a nurse named Bronnie Ware who spent years caring for people in their final stages of life. Now, through those years, she has asked hundreds and hundreds of her patients the same exact question. What regrets do you have? Most people would probably expect answers related to your career, missed opportunities, or money. However, that wasn't actually the case. What she actually heard were, I hope I hadn't worked so much. I wish I stayed connected with my friends. And I wish I had the courage to live the life I wanted. Literally not one person stated that they regretted stuff related to money, how they'd missed a show or two, or a game they didn't play. And honestly, even if we may not be able to picture that out right now, since you might not be at that stage of your life yet, the point is that it is highly likely that when you reach that point in your life, you would also be having those realizations yourself. Now, people could have various regrets, but apparently, at least for the people that she has asked those same questions over and over again, all of them have nothing to say about the things that we may think and value as important right now. But at some point in our lives, we'd realize that that's not actually what would really matter in life. And worst case scenario, hope that we didn't live our lives that way. And honestly, we should really take note of that. Because most of the time, the people closest to that line are the ones that would be hit by the realizations that they wouldn't even consider nor think of throughout their years. Now, here's a question I want you to think about. Imagine if someone told you that you had 2 years left to live. What are you going to do? Would you start doing the things you like more? Would you finally tell the person you've been avoiding how much they actually mean to you? Would you stop caring whatever others may say or think of you? And would you finally do that one thing you've been postponing for the past couple of days, weeks, months, or maybe even years? Just think about it. Would something actually change? Or are you just going to remain the same? And that's exactly the point. Whatever answer you have in mind, whatever thought it made you realize, or whatever questions you suddenly thought of, that most likely is what truly matters to you. And unfortunately, it's not just me, not just you, but most people would be postponing what they think truly matters to them at the back of their brains, simply because they think that they could just do it at a different time. And that's exactly the problem. People think they've got a lot of time, and that causes them to delay and not prioritize things even if it's something they truly care about. You've got to understand that we don't really know how much time we do have left. No one can. Maybe you do have lots of it. Maybe you also don't. No one would know. And that's exactly what you need to realize. Stop treating every single day as if you're going to be living to infinity. And instead, treat every single day like it's your last and do what truly matters. Now, here's a story that most of you would have probably heard already once in your lifetime. I'm not necessarily sure where this originated from though, but there's a high chance you've already heard this. There was once a professor who did a demonstration in class using a glass jar. He placed the jar in front of the students and filled it with large rocks. Then he asked the students, "Is the jar full?" The students then answered yes. Then instead of agreeing, he then poured in smaller pebbles, then sand, and lastly water. Now, if you haven't heard this story, then let me explain it to you real quick. The lesson wasn't necessarily about productivity. It was talking about priorities. The jar represents your overall life. The rocks represent the most vital and non-negotiable things we have in our lives, such as our health, family, children, and the like. Now, the pebbles are the other things that matter, although not as much as the rocks. These are your job, your house, your car, and the like. While the sand are just some other stuff you have, such as your material possessions. And lastly, the water is just there to represent that no matter how full you think your life already is, there's actually some space in there that you can still fill up, such as being with friends, relaxing, and the like. Now, the lesson is just simple. If you pour the sand first into the jar, there will basically be no room for the rocks or pebbles. And that basically is how it is with our lives as well. If you prioritize filling your life with all the minor tasks and material possessions instead of what actually matters, there would come a point in time when you'd already want to do what actually matters, but you probably don't have the time nor space for it anymore. And that's what most people get wrong. Now, here's a trap that nobody talks about that much. If you think that one simple decision you do or make today would really make that much of a difference or effect in the future, then you're basically wrong. You gotta understand that we wouldn't necessarily lose our lives all at once. We'll lose them bit by bit from all the decisions that we've made that led to that certain point in time. If you're one to use the lines, "Give me 10 minutes, I'll do it in an hour, tomorrow, the following day, next week, next month, next year," you're never gonna do something. You might not realize it now, but that one day becomes someday. And sometimes, that someday becomes a never. Now, don't tell me you ain't guilty of this, because you can literally apply this in many aspects of your daily life. And that delay right there is one of the main causes as to why we aren't able to spend our time wisely. If this is something you're having a hard time understanding right now, because you haven't experienced it yet, then that's good for you. But just hear me out. Don't wait for the time when it finally does. Because any decision and delay you choose to do right now might not feel any harmful at all. But there might come a time 1 year from now, 4 years from now, 10 years from now, or maybe even on your last moments that you go and realize that this is a regret you hope you have done. On the flip side though, life being short might actually also be the one that makes it beautiful. Now you might say I'm crazy. Who wouldn't like to live in the longest time you can, right? But just hear me out. Because if you simply lived forever and you do know that you have unlimited time, would anything actually feel special to you? Like, would anything even matter as much as they do to you right now? Maybe at the start, but at some point in time, you just get tired. You just get bored, and everything would be just repetitive. Imagine a life where birthdays aren't special, where traveling to places aren't special. Imagine not even feeling the sense of urgency or excitement when you're seeing your family, friends, or loved ones, because you already have an eternity to do it anyways, right? That's why I think that us having limited time isn't something you should only look at negatively, because scarcity creates value, and every second of our life is the rarest thing we would actually ever own. And this is why realizing that we have limited time makes ordinary moments feel special, since we do know that there might not come a time that we would be able to do that once again. Moments such as a random phone call, a random walk in the park, a random travel abroad, and all those other small moments that happen in our lives that we don't really give that much credit to. Until one day, you finally realize that those were actually moments that you should have treasured all along. So if you're still here, you must be asking, so how exactly do we spend our lives wisely? Well, let's start by not squeezing every second that you have for maximum productivity, and by not turning your life into a checklist. Because this is actually how I've lived for half a decade, ever since I've started my YouTube journey and my journey to making other income streams. I've been so focused on trying to squeeze out literally every second of my life to be as productive as I can, to produce as much outputs as I could. I've literally lived my life with a checklist. By the minute, by the hour, and literally missing a single second makes me irritated as hell. Thankfully though, that changed when I met the person I wanted to enjoy my time with. Now, that might not be the case for you now, nor that may not be how you'd realize it. But you can start by asking one simple question in whatever you're gonna do. Just ask, Will this matter to me in 10 years? Well, maybe not even 10. You can even scale it down to 5 or maybe even 3, because that's going to depend on what exactly you're going to do, right? But the moment you do ponder and integrate that question to the decisions you do in your life, most worries and indecisiveness would probably disappear, and most distractions would reveal themselves. And afterwards, the only thing that would remain is what you do know yourself would actually matter. Not just now, but even a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, or even a lifetime. And now, that is where your attention belongs. Someday, this chapter of our lives will all come to an end. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, and maybe not even in a couple of years. I hope not soon though, but it definitely will. At least someday. And when that day finally comes, the goal wasn't necessarily to become the richest, to be the most famous, and to have the best resume. The goal is to be able to look back and say, I smiled, I cried, I loved, I tried, I fought, I experienced life instead of delaying it. And in all of those moments, I was there. Because our lives wouldn't be measured by how long it lasted, but how we lived through it. So call that person. Start that one thing you've been delaying for a long time. Travel. Apologize. Say I love you more. Say what needs to be said. And do the things you've always and would want to do. Because life is short. And that's exactly why it's precious. So use it wisely.